Firstly, don't get alarmed. We are not branching out into cookery programming, but we use the concept of the hamburger to help us relate a very simple concept. Hello, I'm Steve Hoyle, and in this short video I'd just like to introduce you to a really powerful, very simple tool which we know as the Hamburger Model. I say it is general purpose, and many managers in many situations use the model, but for new sales managers in particular, who are often very task focused and very aware of the need to achieve results, and so have a big temptation to just get on with the task rather than thinking about how to manage the situation. So let me briefly explain the simple concept, and then I'll give you a couple of examples. So let's consider any management task which involves getting from A to B. Now, of central importance is the task itself, and I'll give you some examples in a minute. But what the Hamburger Model says is that whilst the task itself is central, as a manager there are two other aspects that we need to focus on. Indeed, in some cases as a manager our focus should not be on the task itself at all, but on these other two aspects. The first aspect is the process that we're going to go through. Who are you going to involve? What are the steps in getting from A to B? If we hit any problems, what are we going to do about it, etc. But as we go about achieving a task by using a deliberate process underpinning everything, often other people involved, their emotions, their desires, their skills, their motivation, etc., also become really important and need to be considered. So I hope you can appreciate why it's called the Hamburger Model, because it says the meat of the issue is the task itself. But over the top of the task is the process that we go through, and the base foundation underpinning the task are other people issues that we have to take into consideration. So let me give you an example of a new sales manager where one of the tasks is every week reviewing the short-term pipeline and giving a forecast to the boss or to the rest of the business as to where you're going to end up at the end of this month or the end of this quarter. Now, we could just dive into it. We've maybe seen other managers do it before, so we follow what they've done. We maybe get everybody together in a room on a Friday afternoon and ask everyone in turn to describe all their deals, let us know of any risks, and then from that we'll come up with some kind of forecast. But even just diving into it like this, we have implemented a process. We've decided to get everybody together rather than doing it one-to-one, partly or completely. We've decided that everyone speaks one after another about their deals, whereas we could have decided, for example, to examine all deals according to how important they are, which is normally what the value of them is. Indeed, we've decided to ask people to describe their deals rather than looking at other options. For example, we could just read out what is on our Salesforce or sales automation system. The point is there is always a process going on. The question is, have we adopted the most effective process and have we looked at different options? Of course, the process that we've adopted impacts the people. In the example I've just described, taking everybody off the road back into the office on a Friday afternoon will impact their motivation, maybe their energy levels, maybe how they perceive you as a manager and the rest of the team. And again, this is something you may want to think about. But not only does the process impact the people also impact the process. In our example, if as a salesperson I'm not feeling particularly energetic and enthused on a Friday afternoon, then I'm not going to ask such good, insightful or penetrating questions that the process really should demand. As a sales manager, I should probably be considering the people side of completing this task, so I may want to think about bringing in coffee and donuts as part of the meeting in an effort to make people feel better. I could ask questions like, do I build into my process 5 minutes at the start where we spend time just understanding how people are feeling, letting them vent any frustrations that have built up over the week? Another example might be how we go about conducting an interview. Now, the task in conducting the interview is to find out some information about whether or not this person is a good fit for the position that we're recruiting for. And some managers will just go into an interview meeting and chat to the person with the hope that at the end of the meeting they will have a positive or negative feeling. We've all been interviewed and we know that the process that somebody adopts is going to make the interview more or less successful. And also in any situation like this, there are emotions and motivations which impact openness and truthfulness on both sides. So best practice will be to think about your process for the meeting, probably as part of the overall process for recruiting somebody. But if we just focus on the meeting itself and the interview, how am I going to open it? What are the different stages we want to go through? Is there a stage where I describe the role? Is there a stage where I ask different questions on different topics? At what point do I ask them for their questions about the role? And at the same time, being very conscious of the people issues. So how do I set people at ease? How do I get them to be open and truthful? For example, by my body language, by the tone of the questions that I ask. All of these things are going to be a big impact on the central task itself. So the Hamburger model is just a very simple tool to help us think about the 3 strands that we should always consider. Personally, like many sales managers, I have a very graphic mind. So I like to imagine these 3 strands of the hamburger before anything I do, whether that's interviewing people, running a meeting, facilitating a workshop, devising a campaign, whatever it is, I check myself, and before diving into the task, which is sometimes the really interesting bit, but before diving into it, I ask myself, what is the process we're going to go through here, and how am I going to involve and engage and get the best out of all the people involved so that we as a team complete the task to the best of our ability.